Expect the unexpectable. Hello, my name is Will, and this is Exploding Helicopter, the only podcast in the world dedicated to films with super action. Now, such is the nature of running a podcast celebrating helicopter explosions in film, you inevitably find yourself reviewing a lot of Hollywood action movies. But on this show, we thought we'd take the opportunity to cast our eye a little further afield and look at the world cinema scene. So on this show, we're not interested in Hollywood, or even Bollywood or Nollywood. No, we're looking at the action cinema movie scene in Uganda, otherwise known as Wakaliwood. To help me review the film, I'm joined by the world's leading authority on African cinema. With me once again is my good friend Dara. How you doing, buddy?
Katanga, my friend.
Lenny Henry's finest catchphrase.
Yeah, 80s comedy. That's kind of what I was trying to put into that. Well, Will, when you said we were going to watch this unique cultural phenomena, I was really very excited to check out Ugandan cinema and see what they had to offer. You know, the poverty and mixed with colonial struggles. I thought this might be some sort of Merchant Ivory film.
Well, I know how much you like subtitles. I know you like to venture into world cinema. So I just thought, this was perfect for you, Dara. So I'm figuring you've got absolutely nothing to complain about with this film we're looking at today.
I think you're doing this to punish me, Will, aren't you? I don't know what I've done. I feel I've been a good friend to you over the years, and you know how upset these films make me when you make me watch them. You've got me here under false pretenses. This could be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Dara, if you want to get out of that basement, you better play nice.
Oh dear, what do I have to do? This film, I don't know. Well, there's a lot to talk about on this film, but It might not be what people are expecting.
Okay, well, I know you didn't enjoy this film, so I thought I'd ask you. I haven't asked you this for a little while. I wondered if you'd watched anything lately that you had enjoyed.
Well, yes, I sort of the antidote to this awful film. I was lucky enough to get to a preview of a documentary created by, I think it's CNN and Channel 4, about an amazing story, absolutely incredible story of three identical twins. The film's called Three Identical Strangers, and basically involves, I don't want to give too much away because it's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. I watched quite a few documentaries, and this is incredible. It leaves you thinking about a lot of things after you finish watching the film, and discussions carry on if you're watching it with someone, which I think is a mark of a good film, is when you're carrying on talking about it after the credits have rolled. And it's about three New York siblings. They were adopted, and they all end up being put in different families and don't meet each other until they're 19 years of age. And they basically get to sort of celebrity status because their story is so amazing in the early 80s. End up being in a Madonna film, They're Desperately Seeking Susan. They cameo in that, and they're the kind of the men of the moment in the early 80s. And basically, you kind of follow their story. It's done through sort of old cine footage of them growing up, plus talking heads of all the sort of relevant characters. And their story kind of starts off, amazing. It's funny and you sort of rejoice in them meeting each other, and then takes a sort of darker turn. It's one of these things where you just can't believe the story is real. And every time you sort of learn something else more incredible follows it. It really is one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. I really would recommend people see it.
Okay, and is that something that's going to be widely released in cinemas, or is it something that's going to go straight to streaming?
No, I think this is the sort of thing. I think the sort of buzz about it as well is so strong. Obviously, not a lot of mainstream cinemas sort of stock documentaries. So I saw it at the Duke of York's chain, which is the Picture House chain. So it'd probably be on the what's that posh one in London? The not Verizon, can't remember. What's the chain in London with the kind of highbrow films? Curzon, is it?
You've got Curzon. You've got a Picture House chain up in London as well.
So I think you'll see it on those kind of things. In America, I don't know whether they have a similar thing. I'm not really familiar with their chains, but it's obviously not a big blockbuster type film. But it's production is fantastic. It is a CNN Channel 4 sort of amalgam, so I would imagine it will get some sort of release in the US. But if not, Netflix, they do a ton of documentaries, so this will have to be on there. It's literally a must-see.
What I want to know is how you're getting invites to these premieres, whilst I, as the host of the world's only Exploding Helicopter podcast, have not had anything in the post about this film.
Well, I'm the talent, Will. I think we must have established that. You're the cart horse who keeps the truck moving along, and I am the shiny apples inside the cart that the public want to see and hear. I can't put it any clearer than that.
So you're the shiny apples
And you're the
in a
cart horse.
cart, and I'm some sort of horse. That's
I'm mixing
such a clear analogy, Dara.
I'm mixing my metaphors somewhat, so let's not delve too deeply into it.
Okay, I think it's time to get stuck into Who Killed Captain Alex. So here's a little bit of something or other that I hope gives you a flavour of the film.
We are coming for you. We are crazy. Wakaliwood is coming for you.
From Wakaliwood, Uganda, home of the best movies. Super soldiers.
By the way, who killed Captain Alex? Europe, Portugal, Japan, Russia, America, Australia, Spain. You killed Captain Alex. We are coming for you. Yes, attack!
What the hell? Oh my God! Jesus, Kung Fu! New York City? New York City! Oh no!
Who Killed Captain Alex is what you would describe as the ultimate cult film. Made on a budget of just a few $100s in Kampala, Uganda, the film was originally distributed by DVD in the local market, with the expectation of maybe being viewed by a few hundred people. However, it became an internet sensation and achieved global fame after a trailer was uploaded onto YouTube. The story of the film is about Uganda's top soldier, Captain Alex, who is tasked with bringing down the Tiger Mafia, a shadowy crime organisation who are up to no good. But after starting his mission, Captain Alex is quickly betrayed and killed by an enemy within. Enter Alex's brother Bruce, who just so happens to be a Ugandan Shaolin monk. He then sets out to avenge his brother's death. Just to give you a little more flavour of this film, the actors here are not professionals. They're wearing their own clothes. The sets and props are largely made up of whatever was at hand. But whilst this is a very low budget and is certainly short of the standards you would expect of even the most modest of TV programmes, it is trying to replicate the thrills of Die Hard, Commando, or any of those classics of action cinema. But enough scene setting and background. Dara, what did you make of Who Killed Captain Alex?
Well, it's certainly a memorable film. Once you've seen it, you won't forget it. And it's kind of one of those, it is perfect for the internet, really, because it's so bad. It's so bad, it's good. Then it goes to bad. Then you might think it's good again. Ultimately, I left thinking, I'm happy that this film was made. So the film is absolutely terrible. Editing is awful. The effects are awful. The script is nonsensical. It's so cheaply done. Bless him, the guy. As you mentioned, I think he made a film with $200. He edited the film apparently on computers that he put together himself. So he's get used to just make computers, and he obviously had to get this powerful enough computer to do film editing on there. So it's a real dog's dinner. It's pretty awful. It's not very long. It's about an hour 8 minutes, so it's watchable. It's free on YouTube, and it's obviously got to a bit of a cult status because it's completely ridiculous. I mean, you can tell the guy is obviously a lover of 80s cinema and action and kung fu films, because it's kind of a bizarre amalgam between sort of Commando and Enter the Dragon. But I completely lost the plot 10 minutes in, and I was almost exclusively relying on the VJ Emmy, the guy who talks over the film. It film's really weird, and where it's got a sort of director's commentary that you can't turn off. It's on the film, and it's not the director. It's just a video joker. Apparently, this is a thing in Uganda where they have someone. People go and watch a film in like their version of a cinema. They watch the film with the dialogue, and then someone else with a microphone will sort of toast over the top of it and comment on the film, which is quite interesting. And the guy who does it is hilarious. He's actually quite funny, and he makes the film, because not only does he explain the plot, he has little jokes and little asides that kind of got me laughing on a few occasions. So it's a very unusual film.
Well, I would have to agree with a lot of what you said there. This is not a good film on any sort of objective particular standard, but I have to say I enjoyed watching this movie despite all of the flaws. I think the reason I enjoyed it is because it's basically, this film is coming from a place of love, and the people involved in making this film, it's very clear they haven't got very much to work with. They've got limited sets, limited actors. They've got hardly any money to work with, but they are not going to let any of that get in the way of trying to produce the most entertaining film that they can. I don't think it necessarily always succeeds. As you say, the plot is basically incomprehensible, but there is regular amounts of action. There is certain things in this film which are just so bizarre. That you'd only see them because somebody completely
doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Because somebody doesn't know what they're doing. They're like, why not put this into the film? And I have to say, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't think I'm going to be putting this on a regular basis, because I've watched it twice now, and I think I'm pretty much I've done my shift with this movie.
I think you've got all the nuances out of it after the second watch. Yeah. It kind of reminded me. I don't know if I had a little phase when I was a kid about watching kung fu films in the early 80s. And I remember watching some sort of early 80s, late 70s kung fu films done on probably a very, very similar budget, very, very low budget. Where it's half of the cast aren't actors, so you get that vibe, and it's very stilted, but they're quite fun in a bizarre sort of way. And I suppose this is the spirit of those films is carried through in this one.
Well, let's give people who most likely haven't watched this film, let's give people a little bit of an idea of the sort of incredibly low budget that is at work here. And, I think, as we've already mentioned, the actors here are clearly non-professionals. And I've heard some stuff with the director talking about this film. And, yeah, he's basically just using friends, family, and anybody who was happy to give up their time to be in the film. So no acting credentials were required. And so, yeah, there is a wide variety of acting or non-acting in this film, which does add a certain element of amusement in many scenes. But, this film is obviously about the army trying to track down this particular criminal. And again, I think a good example of the incredibly low budget that they're working with here is that many of the people are carrying replica guns, which clearly are...
They're like toy guns, aren't they?
Some of them are toy guns. Some of them aren't even toy guns. Some of them are just basically bits of wood that are painted black and cut into the shape of guns. I was particularly amused by the guy who was wearing, do they call them bandoliers, with all the ammunition?
Oh yeah,
draped
with wooden bullets.
he had bandoliers made of wooden bullets, which just looked like bits of wood. But
It's amazing. In my research for this, I saw a documentary. Now, apparently, because of the lack of a budget, lots of the props were made by themselves. So the director, Isaac Nguana, I think his name is.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, easy for me to say. He's basically the brainchild behind this. Wrote the script, did the editing, shot the film, directed, produced, everything. He lives in a house. He shoots. He edits the film in another part of his house, and next to his house is a garage workshop where his mate does all the props. So he will get the script, because apparently this is now a cottage industry, and there've been the few films that have been made out of the Raymond Productions, which is his production company in this slum outside Uganda. And so he will tell his friend that he needs this sort of gun, and so they'll go away, look at pictures of it, and the guy would weld little tubes together and try and make a imitation gun. And this guy is amazingly clever, and apparently one of the later films he's actually recreated one of those massive Gatling guns, the gun that's in Predator that they carry around with the barrel that goes round. He made one out of motorbike engine, and honestly, you see it, incredible. You've got to give these guys ingenuity, incredible credit for these guys who actually try and, they love action film. They've got no money, they've got pretty much no talent, but they've made it. They've got, we're talking about them.
No money, no talent. It sounds very familiar, Dara.
Maybe we can get part in one of their films, Will. How about that?
I would love that.
God, that'd be cross promotion, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Now, one of the unique aspects of the film is something that you've already mentioned, which is this the video jockey who commentates throughout the film, sometimes poking fun at it, sometimes giving you little reminders of the plot. I mean, you've already sort of mentioned that aspect of the film a little bit, but yeah, what did you make of that particular aspect of the film?
I thought that was brilliant. I mean, can you imagine that being carried out in mainstream cinema, where you've just, you've got sort of the new Marvel film, and you've got some guy just talking over the top, just taking the piss out of the characters, or just reminding people where they were. I mean, in terms of plot reminders, this guy is gold dust, because if you've got some sort of convoluted, if you're watching a Christopher Nolan film and you're a little bit confused as to which realm you're currently in, you just have this guy talking over the top just to remind you. I thought he was excellent, and his little asides.
He's got a very surreal sense of humour, hasn't he?
He has. One of the new things I've learned about Ugandan sort of patois, something called beating the rat,
oh,
yeah. which I've never heard this phrase, and I think it means I'd either have sex with or have your male member
manipulated.
Manipulated. Thank you, Will. I was searching. So I quite like that as a phrase. I might use that myself in my popular parlance.
But where do you think that comes from? There are all these, like Spank the Monkey. You can kind of, if you think about it, oh yeah, I kind of get where Spank the Monkey may come from as a, where it may derive from as a phrase. But beat the rat, I don't.
Not sure. I don't know, how do these idioms come about? Interesting. I mean, I quite like he was at one point he was asking for. He was talking about Dolly Parton's music when they were. Going through, and I don't know if you noticed, Will, but I particularly liked. He's obviously got some CD, the director of panpipe music. So I picked out. He had "Gimme Gimme Gimme" by ABBA in there, just apropos of nothing, as behind a scene where two people are sort of killing each other. And he often would introduce a refrain from Seal's "Kiss from a Rose" on panpipes, just as helicopters are shooting by or someone's getting blown up. I thought it was a nice touch.
Yeah, there was panpipes "Mamma Mia" in there as well.
Oh, Mamma Mia, okay, fine. ABBA fan, this guy.
But I mean, this is possibly, well, certainly from my experience, the only action movie I've ever seen which includes a soundtrack of panpipe music.
This is, there's a number of firsts in this film, I have to say, and the VJ, it was really an essential element, because I think if the VJ wasn't there, this would just be a pretty bad film.
It would be a bit of a slog, even at an hour.
But I think it's almost like, because this guy's talking over the top of it and he's like joking, he's kind of almost feel like the whole film is made in a tongue-in-cheek way. I don't think it is, but it gives that sensation that this is all just a big joke and they know it's crap. But we can all have a laugh about it.
Now, this film is obviously inspired by Hollywood action movies. What did you make of their attempts to replicate or reinvent those types of action scenes?
Well, bless him. I think this guy obviously is a lover of 80s action, and you can see that in the film. However, he, if I'm not mistaken, I read an interview with him where he didn't have enough money to go on the video editing course, which was a 6-month course. He did 1 month of it, run out of money, but learned enough to sort of edit the film, to like work how to edit, on a computer and the software needed. So he hasn't really got the skills maybe for his vision. Now, I know subsequent films have been made after. This was made in 2010. This film is quite an old film, but he's made quite a few films after. And I think his production values, even though he's still working out of a garage in a slum in Uganda, he's learned on the job. So I think some of his production values and his action sequences are a little bit more believable. But in this film, people are shooting, like waving guns around. Like just spraying, but only one person is dying. People punching and not connecting. You can see it. I mean, it's like a joke sixth form film.
Yeah.
It's almost like a parody film, but it's not.
Yeah, and there's a bizarre penchant for having characters crawl through sewage trenches. I don't know, I think it says a lot about the director's powers of persuasion that he could get so many of his actors to spend so much time basically crawling on their hands and knees through sewage trenches.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much all shot in one of the slums outside Kampala, and he's using the houses as sets and the kind of raggedy countryside. So it's very realistic in terms of that is what you'd get if you lived there. But the action itself, I think they used for blood effects in the beginning, they used cow's blood, but one of the actors got hepatitis, so he had to go to hospital because he caught something off of the cow's blood, and then they changed it to food coloring. So that's the sort of stuff, and you get certain scenes, people's arms covered in red, it's not blood, and you get these weird. I don't know who did the special effects, but because there's quite a few special effects in the film, but the sort of thing last seen on a Sega Master System, where little flashes pop up when someone gets shot, or like a squirt of blood in certain areas. It is hilarious.
Now, some of the action scenes are, as you have said, are pretty badly staged. I'm not sure how much or if any rehearsal went into some of the action scenes that are staged here. But the character Bruce, who comes into this as the brother of Alex, who is killed early on in this film. I don't know. He does seem to know something of martial arts, or if he's doesn't.
Good, yeah.
He seems to be able to do a good impression of it. And some of the fight scenes involving him, and there's a very completely redundant visit to his Shaolin temple, which basically just looks like a deserted farm barn, where the fight that takes place there is actually, comparative to the rest of the film, is actually pretty well staged.
So apparently this guy, he is a genuine kung fu practitioner. Don't know what level he's at. There is a Shaolin Kung Fu center in Uganda, and apparently now, because this obviously is this whole kind of
been such a sensation.
It's been such a sensation. This cottage industry is kind of developed out of this tiny little town. They've made other films, and this guy, the Bruce Yu, he's now the kind of martial arts instructor, and he teaches the kids in the village kung fu. So you've got all these little kids, and I've seen clips of it where he's basically, in the morning they do training session, and he teaches the young kids how to do kung fu, because they're trying to build another generation of sort of action movie stars in this little village in Uganda, kind of apropos of nothing. So his martial arts credentials are pretty much the only thing we can guarantee in this film as being of decent quality.
So I probably wanted to wrap up this discussion of the film by asking you one final question, Dara.
Go on.
So who killed Captain Alex?
Well, that's the $64,000 question, isn't it? Because not even the director knows. Because you kind of left in a little bit, at least, you made me sit through this film. At least give me a payoff. Tell me who actually killed, reveal the mystery. But the end of the film just finishes with a broadcast, and I'm kind of left thinking, did they not upload the final part of the film? You never know, basically. It's the mystery. But, Will, there is talk of a sequel to this film where we might find the answer to who killed Captain Alex.
Well, I tell you that, I mean, they certainly leave this film open-ended. You can't accuse this film of tidying everything up neatly, because who killed Captain Alex? It basically becomes largely unimportant after about 20-25 minutes, and the film just sort of carries on, abandons people. The central plot line, and then just carries on with a lot of killing and shooting, which is a unique approach to storytelling. But I was interested to experience it.
Yeah, it's very. I'm almost lost for words with this film. It's just the most bonkers thing I've seen in a long time.
Okay, I think we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be looking at the exploding helicopter action.
Hi everyone, this is Tim Costa.
I'm Hermano da Silva.
And this is Walter Vinci.
And together we are the First Time Watchers podcast.
Each week we choose a movie to review that none of us has seen.
Watch it together.
And then discuss.
These movies could be new.
Or old.
Or on our list of shame.
You can find us on iTunes by searching for the First Time Watchers podcast.
As well as on Stitcher.
And we love interacting with our listeners, so if you have any suggestions, send us a tweet.
An email.
Or post to our Facebook page.
We'd love to hear from you.
That's right. I mean, it's all about interaction.
And talking about what we love, movies.
And you don't have to worry about us going on and on about this and that and the other. And let's talk about this minutiae here. Shut up.
And I wonder who the
We're back, and now we're looking at the exploding helicopter action. This occurs towards the end of the film when there's a big confrontation between the Tiger Mafia and the government troops, who are accompanied by a couple of helicopters from the Ugandan Ghetto Air Force. There's a lot of wild shooting, and 2 CGI choppers get blown up by the heavy gunfire. Dara, what did you make of the exploding helicopter action?
I think calling it CGI helicopters is a little bit of a stretch. They're almost like 2D cardboard cutouts with the guy's head stuck in, superimposed over the image. Honestly,
it's cardboard generated imagery. It's not computer generated.
CBI. There we go. I get it. It's the new Ugandan special effects wave that's going to hit Hollywood. This is. I feel bad criticizing this film because they haven't got much money. They're trying really hard, but it's laughable. The whole thing is laughable. The explosions are just completely worse than anything you've probably seen in any lowest budget 80s. The sort of thing, Will, that you quite enjoy. That looks like Gone with the Wind compared to this film.
Yeah, I mean they are, as you said, they're basically sort of these cardboard cutout helicopters are representing the real life coppers. They're superimposed over an artificial skyline, and before actually the helicopters explode, we get to watch these helicopters attack some buildings, which they seem to do essentially by sort of landing on top of them, and that
top of that they may explode.
That the buildings explode. Yeah, I don't really know how that works in reality, but I was just in the moment. I was going with the flow of this particular movie. But yeah, these two cardboard generated imagery choppers get blown up in pretty awful smudge of low-grade pixelated computer graphic. But it's good to see that even in Uganda,
the deepest, darkest Uganda, they respect
the conventions of the action movie and know that they need to include some exploding helicopters in there.
They know it's key. Did you know, though, that the director was chased by a helicopter as a child, and he used that visceral feeling that he got to recreate some of those scenes?
I didn't know that, but it's wonderful that he's able to exercise that dark childhood memory through this film.
Exactly.
So I think we can probably safely say that the special effects of these exploding helicopters are probably, well, I was going to say the worst, but basically the question I was going to ask you, Dara, is where does this exploding helicopter rank for you? It's certainly probably the most cheaply produced. Is this the worst exploding helicopter you've seen, or are some of the others that you've seen in doing this podcast, are they worse than this one?
I mean, with the best will in the world, I would love not to say this is the worst. And we have had circumstances of helicopters going behind hills or behind jungle foliage where you don't actually see the helicopter fully explode, which is inexcusable. However, this, I think, wins the prize as the worst helicopter explosion I've ever seen due to its lack of skill, money, and ingenuity. Sorry, my Ugandan friends.
What is that cold block of ice you've got for a heart, Dara? I don't know how. Well, I don't know how you can say that. I mean, I'd say if you can't see the helicopter explode, that is surely worse than even the most poorly executed, visible chopper fireball.
I suppose I got a laugh out of this one. I actually got a little bit of a laugh about how bad it was, which some of the things I've had to endure through this podcast haven't even raised a laugh with me, and I've just been disappointed. So in that respect, I'll give them some credit.
Well, let's end on that sort of sunnier, more positive note.
If you have to, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why I'm still alive, to be honest.
Well, I mean, I hear, I understand that the director of this film is very prolific, and I think he's now produced something like over 30 films. So there's a lot of other Wakaliwood cinema for us to get stuck into, Dara, and I'm sure you're going to be joining me for much of that.
At the risk of having to watch one of these things again, I heard that they've now mocked up a fully life-size helicopter which they can use in some of the scenes.
Brilliant.
So he's developed beyond the cardboard cutout. They're, realizing the vision. So, who knows? Maybe in 10 years' time, we'll have a film actually worth watching.
There you are. We just got things up on a nice positive note, and then you have to just like pour a cold cup of sick over everything.
Smash it down.
That's you in a nutshell, isn't it, Dara?
That's it, mate. I tell it like it is.
Okay, I think that just about wraps things up, Dara. I was going to say thanks for joining me on the show again, but you have.
Please let me out, Will. Please let me out. I need to see daylight, please.
Once we have completed the Wakaliwood retrospective, then.
Only 10 more to go.
Okay, this is the bit where I do the usual blah blah about leaving us a review and plugging us on social media, but you've all heard that enough times. We'll be back soon. Until then, keep watching the skies for those exploding helicopters.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
I'm making German food. German food? Yeah, we found German tourists. We're cooking them. Oh, very, 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 very good. Delicious. Serve me the head like predator.